Hi, Professor Thomas. This is Joshua LeBlanc, and this is my submission for Experiment 8 and Embedded Computer Hardware Interfacing. This is the experiment where we are supposed to design the 100 meg fiber system. The three requirements were transmit 100 meg signals, transmit over a 100 millivolt gradient, and then transmit 5 miles. So I'll walk through the system and point out each parts, which are detailed a lot in the write-up that I wrote for this, or not a lot, but it's actually the parts are pieced out and explained a little bit more. But I'll walk you through it and tell you how it works, why it makes sense, and how it satisfies all three requirements. So you're gonna have to bear with me because I gotta look up at the screen and then point down to see what I'm writing at for you. So start on the input. The device is going to be a SLAE device which connects to another terminal system through USB 3.0. That's what I spec'd in. 3.0 because it can handle over 100 meg stream of real data that you want to send out into the system. So the system will connect to it, pump its data into it, and also can configure the PHY or the FPGA's firmware however it wants. So that goes through a USB PHY, which translates it to a ULPI signal that the FPGA can read. And so in the FPGA, it shows the Altera RA2GX. It's a nice little processor that, or FPGA, that can do a lot of things. And so within there, you need IP, the Verilog IP that'll actually translate the USB PHY into useful data that it knows what to do with. So on top of that, we're going to use the soft core processor, the Neos 2. It's inherent to the system. I mean, you got to select it into there. But it's a 32-bit soft core RISC processor. It does everything we need. Firmware will actually control the I/O back and forth. Sitting below that, we have a EPC-Q controller. We need to hold some non-volatile flash memory to hold the actual FPGA code, or the system. And the 256 part is a little bit overkill for 256 megs, but I mean, you can jam in whatever you want. And that's all through a SPI bus. And so this little part right here actually holds that bus controller as well, so it takes care of that. So once the signal travels through, everything's stored. I'm going to use an Ethernet system because it jams on a nice nice header you can use for destination address and other tags that you want to put in the frame header. And so we actually have a monitor and a generator that actually generates and monitors the packets. You can actually see what's coming in. So it'll take the data, attach it to the right header file, and do all the right ending to it, and then it jams it out into the Mac before it actually heads out. And also the monitor side of it will actually see a packet, strip off the header information it doesn't care about, get the raw data, and be able to send it back upstream to your device. So once you have data, you're in here, you go through the moderator, you get the right headers, you get past through the MAC layer. We're headed our way to a PHY, and so that's an SGMI signal. It's a differential input-output pair, kind of like a SerDes. And that's going to hit a PHY. I chose a Vitesse. Well, they're owned by Microsemi. An 8211. It's a single port copper, single port fiber. We're not using copper, but I'm going to use a fiber. From there, it just translates it down to a higher speed SerDes or LVDS signal. That's again on copper, and then you hit your SFP connector and cage and module. And so, what one did I choose? Blah, 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 blah. I think I chose TE stuff. Yeah, some TE connectors. And then from there, we're going to go to the actual transmitter and receiver. So sitting in the actual SFP is going to be my Cisco module. It's a 100FX or EX. It is a transmitter and receiver that can do 400 kilometers, so it hits that 5 mile mark, no problem at all. And so for there, it's going to blast out on a single mode piece of fiber. We're going to use LC connectors because it's what's native to the old SFP module that I chose. And I chose a big old spool by some manufacturer that I follow called Optospan. Never heard of them, but the spool that I found was a giant 10-kilometer thing, so you could just lay that bad boy the whole way. And so by doing that, I don't need any repeaters or amplifiers or nothing. Transceiver can make it. I spec'd in Firebirds long enough to make it, so you could transmit out, and then I'm going to claim that the other end of the system just has to also accept the same SFP and read it into its system. But I'm only interested in my system, so I didn't spec out what's happening over here. But he also has the same return signal coming back because the module has both the transmitter and the receiver. And then it just kind of goes back upstream, kind of how I described. And so the actual module itself is satisfying the 5-mile specification. And the generator, the Phi is a TSE, so he does 10, 100 to 1,000 megs. So I'm just going to put him in 100FX mode or EX mode. So he's pumping out 100 meg. This transceiver is designed to specially do 100 meg. So that's checkbox number 1. And then the middle one was transmit across 100 megavolt gradient. And so fiber's EMI susceptible, or not, it's insusceptible to EMI, so I don't care if you have like power lines and stuff floating above my copper, that signal's still blasting through. So because of that, I don't have to worry about my repeaters being good to go in that gradient. So all 3 cases were satisfied, and this system is gnarly. It's probably a little bit overkill for what you want, but I design these at my work for a living, so this system will work. And I've worked with some of these technologies before. Some of them I haven't. But if you've got any questions, hit me up. I can answer them all for you, or to the best of my abilities. And I'm hoping this is a system that you've never seen before, that I got something new for you, and that you enjoyed it. Thanks.